New Zealand, like pretty well every developed country, had only one supplier of telecommunications, and that was a government department, in our case the Post Office. So along with most other countries in the late 80s, early 90s, we opened up our telecommunications market and sold off our telecommunications to the private sector, for better or for worse. And so we were actually, in this country, the first one in the OECD to actually privatise and deregulate the industry. Now, the interesting thing about that is that we then became the last one in the OECD to put a regulatory framework in place to constrain how that company could use its monopoly. And so we went for a period of 10 or 12 years when Telecom was completely unconstrained, could use the natural monopoly of its local lines to leverage dominance in all the adjacent markets. And so it was able to stave off any kind of competition, whether it's Saturn or Clear as it was then. It was basically, it controlled the industry. And even the Commerce Commission in those days said in its annual report that in the absence of an industry regulator, Telecom had in fact become the regulator of its own industry. Since then, we've actually done all the right things. We have now regulated interconnection. You know, in the old days, if some new operator came along and wanted to interconnect to Telecom's network, the negotiations consisted of the new operator going along, getting down on its knees in front of Theresa Gatting and asking what the interconnection price would be. That was taken over by an independent regulator who calculated what it should be to be fair to all parties, allow a profit margin for Telecom, etc. We've got number portability, so you can now change your phone company and still take your number with you. You don't have to reprint your business cards and tell all your friends you've got a new number. We've got proper processes in place so that you can transfer among suppliers with very little fuss and bother. And we've got things like local loop unbundling. The copper lines that go into your house, which are a natural monopoly, Telecom is required to allow other operators to use those, to rent them out effectively to another operator so that competition can evolve in that market. The second market, I guess, is mobile. We have had a duopoly ever since mobile phones came into being. So in the early days of mobile, we had a struggling Bell South, which then sold out to Vodafone, and we had a rather lazy Telecom that picked the wrong technology choice at every signpost and ended up stranded with yesterday's technology in a market that was moving forward very much faster than the people at Telecom were able to keep pace with. But then, of course, last year, or a couple of years ago, Telecom announced it was going to the more modern technology, and everyone got really excited, and we got the launch of XT. And XT is a wonderful network. It doesn't work, but it's a wonderful network. Now, the big competition issue that is still around in mobile is a thing called mobile termination rates. And the issue with those are that the mobile operators are able to impose a charge on calls or text messages that come into their network from somebody else's network. Now, the problem with mobile termination is if I own a network and you own a network, then your customers want to ring my customers and my customers want to ring yours. And if either of us put a charge up, which is way above the actual cost for receiving calls into our network, we actually end up with a distorted market where there is one price for calls that stay within the same network, known in the trade as on-net calls, and a much higher charge for off-net calls which go from one network to the other. So by keeping those termination charges up, between Telecom and Vodafone, it becomes a zero-sum game. You know, I pay you 20 cents, you pay me 20 cents. A text message termination charge for a text received into Vodafone at the moment is about 9 cents. And yet Vodafone will sell you a best mates plan with 2,000 texts at half a cent each. $10 for a package of 2,000 texts. So it's charging 20 times as much to receive, as an interoperator tariff, to receive a text from somebody else's network as it will sell the same text to you as a retail customer. Now, if that ain't anti-competitive, then show me something that is. But what they're actually trying to do is close out competition by making it very, very difficult for other operators to enter the market. So it's quite a difficult one to get across to the public. because of that sort of initial appeal. They present it as a great favour they're doing in reducing the price of on-net calling. What we're saying is that they're opening up a huge disparity, and it's actually a surcharge in the price of off-net calls. They talk about a best mates discount. We talk about a nasty bastard surcharge. And a nasty bastard is anyone who has the temerity to be on a network other than their own. But the real biggie that I really want to talk to you about is the fibre, because that's the future. When Bell invented the telephone, it was all based on the twisted copper pair, and it was invented purely for voice. Nobody had heard of the internet around the time that Bell did this. I don't know why he didn't think ahead to it, but anyway he didn't. And the copper pair is a wonderful conduit for voice calls. But the demand for data and the sheer scale of what we now want from our internet connection has got way past the point that the copper can be developed any further. So the solution is fibre to the home. Fibre optic cable exists in the backbone of the network, but it generally doesn't exist in residential premises other than a very small percentage of New Zealanders at the present time. A fibre optic cable, or a bundle of fibre optic cables less than the thickness of a broom handle, has enough capacity for every person on Earth to make a voice call simultaneously. So, to all intents and purposes, the capacity of fibre is unlimited. The problem is that the phone companies left to their own devices will take their time over that, because they will sweat the assets they already have. You know, the blacksmiths were in no hurry for the internal combustion engine to go commercial. So they have got the copper, they've got a huge investment in the copper. Why would they accelerate the process of getting fibre to the home? So the government, in its great wisdom, and we claim a bit of credit for encouraging them to do this, is putting $1.5 billion or so of our money, taxpayers' money, in to go alongside private sector investment and make a huge transition from copper to fibre. John Key has said, so it will happen, John Key has said there will be fibre in the ground before Christmas, which is really good, and I believe him. Might only be 2 metres in front of the beehive for a photo opportunity, but there will be. This is a technology that will change the whole way in which we go about our business as a society. It's about transforming society, transforming business, increasing productivity, and having a complete new look at how certain sectors are run. And the two that stand out in that regard are health and education. The moment we've got a headache, we go to the doctor. Now that is not a sensible way to deal with that sort of scenario. So in our living rooms we have hopefully a big screen TV. And with fibre optic connectivity, self-diagnosis online, group consultations over the TV set with the doctors, plugging in monitoring devices and plugging them into the computer and having a doctor online who will say, yes, your heart beats such and such, your blood pressure, whatever, let's have a look at your complexion, open your mouth. A lot of these things, these services can be delivered a lot more efficiently and effectively. Now, a lot of oldies go into rest homes earlier than they ought to, simply because the people who love and care for them are concerned about a fall or an accident or whatever. And with that kind of monitoring of an ageing population, there is the potential to slow down the time at which people need to move into that kind of specialist care. And the economic saving from something like that is huge. Education, even more so. Schools. Give it another 5 years and every school will have fibre connectivity. Most schools will have all the computers that they can possibly use. Increasingly, kids will bring their own laptops to school. And student management and safety and all those things, it will completely change the whole paradigm of how education is delivered. It'll reopen a lot of country schools. A lot of country schools out there with, 50, 100, 150 kids, and not enough in any particular age group to get critical mass. Today's teacher is a facilitator of self-administered learning, and that's going to happen even more. They're going to be, you go into a lot of schools now and you see the teachers sitting among the students, and they're online and doing their own stuff and doing their own learning and being guided to that. It's going to completely change the paradigm of how education is delivered. Carry that forward to secondary, carry it forward to tertiary, and the opportunity to live, be educated in an international environment where you can participate in lectures from any university, any institution anywhere in the world. So it's a really exciting time. It has potential in every walk of life, every industry, every avenue of society. And I just find it an amazing time to be alive and to realise just what tremendous potential is going to bring us.